Well, incidentally, we'll start with the most natural thing to move on from that previous story, which is that lockdowns hurt children. We now have evidence and a report of this. So I just want to be clear, right? You didn't need a report to know that this was going to happen, right? You just had to have some experience of what children are like, some understanding of the requirements that they had growing up, going to school, socializing, these sort of things. And with enough of these pieces of evidence in your favour, you can make a fairly strong inductive argument to say, look, it's very likely that this is going to be harmful to children, and therefore the question is, do we harm children in order to preserve the lives of 80 and 90-year-olds? Seems slightly vampiric, in my opinion, and I have been a firm proponent against lockdowns as being immoral, and because the damage that they've done to a generation of children is probably not something that the pensioners themselves would have co-signed were they given the option, especially if framed in these terms, which I think we could have reliably asserted were pretty certain to have happened. But now we obviously have the evidence, right? So this is from the BBC. There is growing evidence that the past year of lockdowns had an impact on young children's language skills, according to research. That won't be the only thing, but that's the thing that they've surveyed here, and undoubtedly this is true. Data from 50,000 pupils in a survey of schools across England has shown an increased number of 4 and 5-year-olds needing help with language. As the father of a 6-year-old who was 5 when the lockdown started, I can attest to this. This is something that I personally have. I mean, I'm not complaining that I've had to put more work in, but it's just one of those things. Like, look, that's why I pay for them to go to school. So that they're being taught these things, and then I don't have to teach them these things. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually did quite enjoy sitting down with my son and getting to read and write and things like that. But that's beside the point. That's beside the point. The evidence shows poor speech development can have long-term effects on learning. The government's now investing £18 million in early years catch-up, which honestly doesn't sound like nearly enough. But anyway, the less or no contact with grandparents, social distancing, no play dates, and the wearing of face coverings in public have left children exposed to conversations and everyday experience, less exposed to conversations and everyday experiences. And it's one of those things that's kind of intangible, right? You don't know where your children are picking up the things that they understand, the words the expansion of their vocabulary, and the practice on how to properly formulate sentences and thoughts, right? You don't know where these happen, because these happen in such large numbers in everyday environment, and so it's about the sort of socialization of the children. And this is something now we have evidence that, well, this was a problem. Yes, it was a problem. Children were absolutely at no risk whatsoever. If they're not allowed to visit their grandparents anyway, then what's the point in making sure they can't visit each other? It defies belief. It's like people complaining, oh, I've had the vaccine. You should get the vaccine because you're putting me at risk.
I mean, there were no arguments to begin with. I mean, the death rate for children was, probably better than if you get an adult that's vaccinated.
Yeah.
So what was the point?
Literally sort of 0.01% or something like that. It's really, really low. You could count on one hand the number of children who died within 28 days of a positive COVID test. And so I think, honestly, it's unconscionable. Like, this is going to be essentially a retarded generation. And so they're going to be, I imagine they're going to be resentful about this. So when I was 5, the government locked me in my house for a year and assuming they're intelligent enough to have these thoughts, but they and actually retarded my development for fear of old people dying of a flu-like disease. And we'll be like, yeah, we did do that. Why did you accept it? Well, nobody knew what to do. Of the 58 primary schools surveyed across England, 76% said that pupils starting school in September 2020 needed more support with communications, and 96% were concerned that their speech and language development was held back. Again, I told everyone this would happen. I saw it with my own kids. This is not good. This is just something that's happened, and now we have to deal with that consequence. Would have been better to have had no lockdowns at all, in my opinion, and just quarantined the elderly. But anyway, the next one is Biden is indeed building the wall. And that's a good thing. So Trump was right all along. It's always nice, isn't it? This is The Hill saying Biden building a wall is a good thing. Joe Biden, in January, Biden issued a proclamation terminating Trump's declaration and stopping the border wall construction it had funded. Biden's proclamation says, it should be the policy of my administration that no more American taxpayer dollars will be diverted to the construction of a border wall. And I love the way they put this. Although that may have seemed appropriate in January, the situation at the border has gotten much worse since then. Oh, no. It wasn't appropriate in January. This was clearly Orange Man bad Trump derangement syndrome policymaking. This was very clearly, Trump said it's good, well, we say it's bad then. And then reality started catching up, because in 2020, 400,000 people were apprehended at the border. So we don't know how many people got across, but we know that 400,000 were stopped.
In a month.
No, in total.
Oh,
for the entire year.
sorry.
But that's still a huge number, nearly 500,000 people just trying to get across the border. So again, we don't know exactly how many people have got across, but of course this is not good. But by the end of March 2021, 351,000. So essentially it's 4 times higher this year than it was last year. Why? Well, we know why, as we've covered in previous podcasts. The migrants themselves have been saying, well, Joe Biden told us we could come. It's like, oh, and why didn't you come under Trump? Well, we knew he'd be sent back and we knew he'd be stopped. That's exactly what they said. So
The message matters.
the message matters.
What's embarrassing about this is, you go back and look at the State of the Union address Bill Clinton gave in like 1990 or whatever it was.
Yep.
Literally, he's Trump's policy: build the wall.
Yeah, there's 97 or something. But unironically, Trump is a Clintonian Democrat, and this is just the fact of the matter. But anyway, so of course, Biden is now walking back his proclamation, and he is reportedly considering a return to construction of the southern border wall in order to fill the gaps that undocumented aliens took advantage of when the construction was halted. Smugglers send groups of illegal crossers through the gaps that overwhelm the agents. What, the coyotes? Oh, the ones that when Trump was like, oh yeah, the coyotes are smuggling people across, and they were like, oh, coyotes can't smuggle people on Twitter. It's like, no, dunces. I know you don't know anything about this, but that's the terminology they use for the people smugglers. It's just a nickname, essentially. But so once again, proven Trump was right. Trump was completely morally right about all of this. If you tell them they can come, they will come, and you will need to build a border wall. DHS Secretary, I can't pronounce that, explained that the president has ended funding based on Trump's emergency declaration, but this leaves room for work on areas of the wall that need renovation and particular projects that need to be finished. So there we go. The Department of Homeland Security is like, Trump was right, build the wall. End of story. And then you go on to the next one where Biden was like, well, I'm going to allow 60,000 refugees to come into the United States each year. And he turned around and said, actually 15,000 limit set by the Trump administration seems kind of reasonable. And so we're going to keep that. And that caused a massive backlash from Democrats and human rights activists. And so Biden has promised, oh no, we will allow it to 62,000 now. But of course, Biden's been sat around on his keister for quite some time and has not signed, did not for at least 2 months, sign this presidential determination that would allow refugees to board the flights in the United States. The refugees have been waiting around, unable to actually come to the United States, even though Biden said that this was fine. Why? Because it was a Trump policy and he wanted to just be, I'm anti-Trump. However, it's a good point. You can't just take unlimited numbers of refugees, especially when you have hundreds of thousands, if not more, illegal immigrants coming across the southern border. This is a problem that you have to deal with. And you've got Democratic leaders like Senator Dick Durbin going, oh, this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. No, it's totally acceptable, which is why Trump did it. And which is why Biden is just essentially having to eat crow over this. It's just the right thing to do. Deal with it. Right. The next one, we asked, will Black Lives Matter venerate Ma'Khia Bryant, the attempted murderer of another young woman who we don't know the name of offhand? And the answer is yes. This is from Black Lives Matter's website. Ma'Khia Bryant. At the exact same time the verdict of Derek Chauvin was being read for murdering George Floyd, police wasted no time in senselessly taking another black child. Capital Black.
Senselessly.
No sense in it. No sense in it. Ma'Khia Bryant, we say her name. Ma'Khia Bryant called the police for help. Is that true?
I've seen no evidence of that.
Yeah, because we heard the call.
And the call does not sound like it's her. It sounds like it's someone else outside
talking
of the
about
group.
her. Yeah. But the confusion appears to come from her mother or aunt or someone who apparently said this, but I don't think that that's true. And I think it's someone who was concerned about watching how she was behaving, called the cops. But of course, as they say, Columbus police officer Nicholas Reardon showed up and shot the 16-year-old child point blank within a matter of seconds. Another black life stolen with no regard. Well, I mean, he did save a black girl, if that helps. I mean, I'd like to honour Nicholas Reardon for saving the life of a black teenager.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
literal
a hero. Literal hero.
A BLM are like, nah, that's
Good guy with a gun.
We'll side with the villain with the knife.
Why not? Because
Black life stolen.
together we're going to uplift, centre and honour this black child for what she loved, doing her hair, making TikToks and being a teenager. Okay, that's weird.
Well, she using the knife to make TikToks? Is that what that was?
I mean,
she was
she's
filming.
literally an attempted murderer. Would have definitely stabbed someone.
Don't worry, it was just for a TikTok.
Just for TikTok. But Micaiah Bryant's life mattered. Then maybe she shouldn't have tried to stab someone in front of a cop. I mean, the cop was literally right there. She's already, like, I don't know, barreled over. I don't know if she stabbed the other woman, but, like, knocked over another woman. Then she goes after the other woman and the cop shoots her. It's like, what are you doing? There's a cop right there. Like, I mean, even if you're like...
This is the most open shut case you could get as well.
Yeah. Even if you're so dead set on killing this person, don't try it with the cop right there. Be like, okay, well, I'll have to try another time. I mean, it's just common sense.
Common sense murder policy.
Well, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm not obviously don't go and stab anyone, obviously, but it's just like, how, like, just ridiculous does your worldview have to be? But like, look, okay, I'm really pissed off at this girl. I'm going to go stab her. There is a cop with a gun there, but I'm just going to go ahead with it anyway, and there'll be no consequences for this. It's like, sorry, this is just ridiculous.
But it's worse the fact that, you know, BLM here sitting with, you know, thousands of miles away can sit there and think about this whole issue, watch the body cam footage, and yet still comes to the conclusion she did nothing wrong and we're going to side with her.
Yeah, and it's just weird that they're attempting to create this narrative as if she's the victim of her own stabbings.
I mean, you couldn't get a better example of how black lives don't matter to them.
Yeah.
I mean, the person she was about to kill was black. Don't care. She was making TikToks.
She deserved to be able to stab that girl. And then you got the response, of course, all over social media. It's like, well, I mean, kids, you know, it's just kids being kids, you know, it's just a little bit of light stabbing. Don't worry about it.
Girls will be girls.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's like, I think that we can solidly draw a line in the sand and say, listen, right, we shouldn't just leave them to stab each other. I know that's radical. I know that's really far out there. It's a totally far right position that maybe children shouldn't just be allowed to stab one another, but that's a hill I'm prepared to die on, actually.
I like how so things from the United States usually come over to British politics.
Yes.
And what was embarrassing is around about exactly the same time the entire American left was trying to say that children just have knife fights for fun all the time.
Yeah.
That a few people were actually stabbed to death in London. And then you had the British left being like,
this is not a hill we're prepared to die on, you know. But that's the thing. These stabbings happen in London all the time on a daily basis, and so
I suppose with the British left going to come and be like, well, thank God a cop wasn't there to stop it. Like,
exactly. What could they say? Anyway, moving on. Let's clean up the Oscars. Yeah. So right after we'd done the segment, practically, the viewing figures for the Oscars came out, and this was just. I mean, I had oversold the number. I saw, 10 to 15 million, something like that. And turns out it was 9.8 million. Not even 10 million people watched the Oscars. So back in 2014, it was 43.7 million. This goes down to about half in 2020 with 23.6 million and then 9.8 million. Could there be a bigger indictment of left-wing radical politics?
I mean, destroying it.
Absolutely.
I mean, sure, COVID's having a massive impact there, but you saw the clips. You saw the kind of people that do this kind of thing.
Hang on. Is COVID having an impact there, though? Because everyone claims
the production
this.
of movies.
Sure, but that wasn't the problem. You know, there's like they also have like Netflix series and all this sort of stuff. It's not just movies. The problem is it's bloody woke and nobody cares about that. And you can hear the cope in like various articles like this next one. I love this, right? So that's a 58.5%. Oh, did you not get the article? It's all right. It's at theage.com.au. But as they point out, it's a 58.5% drop. If we lost half of our audience, more than half our audience, in like, you know, from one to the next, I would be asking, okay, what did we do wrong? Instead, it's just like, oh, well, award shows have been in decline for years. The last year's Emmys was watched by just 5.1 million people. The reason? Too many award shows, too much content, too long and boring. The hosts are annoying. The lack of a host is annoying. Yeah, but there is a connective thread that runs through all of this. It's not just random for different reasons, right? Some will decry the political tenor of many speeches, but these have been part of the deal since Marlon Brando. Yeah, maybe, but the kind of politics is what matters. The simple truth is that people are tired of award shows and have been for some time. Or it could be that people are just sick of being preached at by millionaires. Like, and not
imagine watching that and being like, the problem is the awards.
But it's not even preached at by millionaires though, right? Because if all of these people got up and were like, you know, America's the greatest country on earth, we're the best, China sucks. All of these other countries that are communist suck. America, 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 capitalism, capitalism, capitalism. I mean, you get like if it came across like a Trump rally.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Exactly, I would watch that too. I would enjoy that. Getting some absolutely base hot takes from some of the actors and things like that. That would be amazing. I would really enjoy it. But it turns out there just isn't the market for wokeism that they wish that there was. Like, I love this. The Oscars no longer hold the central position in the discourse that they once did. Yeah, they don't, because you effed them up. This is pure cope. And Bill Maher had the best response to all of this, right? Bill Maher came out and said, look, judging by this year's Best Picture nominees, you couldn't have had a worse time at the movies if there was an active shooter in the theatre. Just disavow. But that's the point. Like, everything there, it's all woke garbage, and it's being promoted as if this is normal and mainstream, because the progressives are wearing the Oscars as a goddamn skin suit. Like, I'm so sick of it.
Bill Maher, an active shooter is better than having to watch this. Oh, man. It's a good joke.
It's very spicy. I wish we could make jokes like that these days. So what else happened? You've got a few extra things you've added onto this.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add a few things on there, some other loose ends. So one of the things I wanted to mention was, folks might remember we covered Voice of Wales a while ago. So these guys had set up a YouTube channel. They were, going out filming
just like
protests.
working class lads from Wales.
Yeah, they were just going out filming corruption within either the police or the local Labour Party that runs Wales in things they were doing. I mean, like setting up the migrant camp, for example, and saying that this was wonderful. And in response, the Labour Party decided to lobby YouTube, and then got the BBC, the state media, involved to also lobby YouTube, and got their channel banned. So their channel got completely banned, and now they have their own website, because they can't just keep things on YouTube, of course, because everything's gone. So if you go to the next one, this is their website, just in case you want to find their stuff. I know some people from our show signed up to Voice of Wales YouTube channel. In case you wonder why it's gone, that's why. The media and the state were able to lobby YouTube to get rid of them, because they disagreed. They didn't engage in any hate speech, they didn't break any terms of service. That was it.
I don't think they were racists. I mean, they had like non-white people on their streams saying, look, we don't care about any of that. We care about the fact that essentially American philosophy is being imported. They didn't say it like that, but that's the crux of their argument was why are Americans being venerated on like the Welsh Heritage Museum or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So why
Barack Obama, Welsh Heritage.
Yeah, what the hell is going on?
Don't know that one.
It's people on Twitter that have decided that we need to get on board.
Yeah, so they also had a Twitter account, and of course that's gone too. So the reason that's gone is that, as you can see here, they posted a clip of a black police officer who was invited on to discuss the Chauvin trial, and he did not take the approved opinion.
Did you see this clip?
Yeah, it was a pretty good clip.
That's amazing.
In which he's just beating out the BBC journo who was not expecting his response.
It was amazing, even dropping the 1350 and then going, well, that's too generous, because it's actually a very slim number of black men who are doing this to each other. It's like, oof.
Yeah, so Voice of Wales posted that clip. It went viral. You can see Candace Owens retweeted it. Jack Posobiec retweeted it. People from the GOP retweeted it. I think got like 1 million views, and then just gone. That Twitter account gone. Why? Because it got retweeted. That was the problem.
They did literally nothing wrong.
Nada. They didn't even give a reason. I spoke to Voice of Wales. We met them on the Freedom March, which I'm not allowed to speak about, so I'll just say that.
Yep.
Although we have an interview with them, I'm hopefully going to put up on the website after this, if I can get the editing. So they just for being popular, that's why they were deleted off Twitter. So they have their own website now. So if you want to find them, go on there. Although the white pill, I want to end on.
What's the website, Callum?
Voiceofwales.com.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, www.voiceofwales.com.
Can't tell people they've got a website, but we're not going to tell you what it is.
We usually have links.
Yeah, sure, but like not everyone's going to be checking the show notes.
Okay, well, we have show notes and also www.voiceofwales.com. There you go. So the other point I wanted to mention here, the white pill of the day, is Priti Patel calls on police chiefs to wipe non-crime hate incidents from people's records amid fears they could be used to ruin their career prospects. Totally true.
Good.
Like non-crime hate incidents for people who live in free countries who might not know what that is. And this is when the police get a call that you've engaged in something hateful. Like, let's say I'm shopping in Asda and he comes up here and he's like, hey, can you pass me a bag? And I give him a bag, and because you're very upset about the way I handed you the bag, you might call up the police and say, this guy in Asda, he handed me a bag in a homophobic manner. You think I'm joking? That's actually one that was recorded.
What?
That was given in a parliamentary inquiry as an example of a ridiculous non-crime hate incident.
How do you hand a bag to someone in a homophobic manner?
You tell me. I mean, it must have been some impressive acting. But they're nonsense. I mean, this is just stuff that happens, and then some SJW takes offense to it, and he calls the police. And the police, because it's not a crime, can't arrest him.
But
But we can put it on his permanent record.
he didn't say anything, right? So, I mean, what would the gesture have to be? I want to say, because normally with these things, you can kind of piece it together and be like, yeah, okay, well, he did this in an uncharitable interpretation.
Refusing to use the pronouns.
Yeah,
like this.
you know, whatever. But, you know, through a series of uncharitable interpretations, you can come to the conclusion that actually this guy's a bad person. But handed a bag in a homophobic manner.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't expand on it when I saw this example being given, but it was just like, kill me. Like, what? This is stupid. So the police log these. The worst one I actually saw was when I was at Canterbury University. There was a protest against a mosque. It was built for students, so I didn't really see that big of a problem with it because it was just for the international students on the university. But there were plans, apparently, to build one in central Canterbury. Canterbury being a Christian city, as in, you know, like an icon of Christendom. There was a protest against this. And the people, I asked the police one day about that protest and said, well, what will happen with that? I mean, that's not a crime, so what will happen to them? And they said, oh, we log those as non-crime hate incidents. People protesting the building of a mosque. That's a non-crime hate incident, and that will go on their permanent record. So if they get a public sector job or something like that, then they do a background check. They'll find out, oh, you protested against a mosque. Well, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, it's genuinely Orwellian. It's the kind of policy that INGSOC would put in because it's about thought policing.
And it doesn't just happen to the plebs either. Amber Rudd, the former Home Secretary, apparently got a notice that she had a non-crime hate incident put against her.
Really?
So she checked it up, and it was because she gave a speech about immigration, and some academic had written up and said, I thought the speech was racist. It later transpired that academic never saw the speech, wasn't in attendance.
Right,
So he just made it up. And I imagine Pri Patel here decided to look up her list of non-crime hate incidents on her record and went, oh, good God, this is 10 pages long. So she's saying to the police, you must get rid of all of these. Yeah. So a Home Office source said these so-called non-crime hate incidences have a chilling effect on free speech and potentially stop people expressing views legally and legitimately. If people are found to have done nothing wrong, the police shouldn't punish them. Yeah. Good on the Home Office. Doing something good for once, which is
so.
Good.
What are they? Are they actually going to get these removed or what?
So it says so. She's requesting they get rid of them. So it's a process because it's done by the police. Yeah. So earlier this year, it was revealed how police have recorded non-crime hate incidences against more than 120,000 people in a year, with 2,000 of those people being children. They're recording non-crime hate incidences
against children
that will go on their permanent record for the rest of their lives. And when they apply for jobs in the public sector, that'll get flagged up.
What an absolutely awful.
So you call someone a name in the playground, and that's on your permanent record.
I can't make a joke. Oh God, I really want to make a joke.
Yeah. I mean, this is awful stuff. I don't know why this has been accepted, but apparently the College of Policing introduced this in like 2014 to try and log stuff. It was a recommendation in response to the death of the murder of Stephen Lawrence and how the police handled that. I don't know the details, but I don't care. I don't care what the argument is.
Yeah.
This is Orwellian nonsense. So just a statement from Toby Young, General Secretary of the Free Speech Union. Non-crime hate incidents are an invention of the College of Policing, an unelected body, keep in mind. They have never been approved by Parliament. There is no legal threshold or independent evidentiary test applied to them, and members of the public have no right to appeal against them. Indeed, a member of the public can have a non-crime hate incident recorded against them and their name attached to it without ever being informed of that fact. So even if it's done against you, you don't get informed. It's just on your record, and you'll never know.
Why would the Conservatives allow this to happen in the first place?
And you tell me.
And why haven't they gone hard? I mean, again, this is one of those things. Fix the country. You know, this should be like, you know, for a week or something, prime Conservative political chum, you know, be like, look, this is Orwellian nonsense brought in by the Labour Party. You're against the freedoms of the British people. You're tyrannising with this. We're against you. We're going to fix this. You know, easy win.
Like a vote to winner.
Yeah.
I know you hate votes, but...
Yeah. I know you hate winning as well, Conservatives, but you could really knock it out of the park here, and there would be literally just tyrants on the other side. There would be no reasonable argument on the other side. It would just be SJW tyranny on that side, and you could just absolutely knock it over.
So Toby Young continues, in some cases, non-crime hate incidences are recorded against a person's name without their knowledge and is only picked up years later when an employer carries out a background check on them. This means that a young person training to be an NHS nurse or teacher could be turned down for the job because of a joke they made in the playground when they were 12 years old.
Oh, God, I'm just so on the verge of making a joke, but I don't want a non-crime hate incident on my record.
You've probably got loads. Like, you should write for a Freedom of Information request just to see how many you've got.
Oh, I wonder if I've got any good ones.
High points.
Yeah.
The more you get, the Because it's not a crime. That's the thing. There are no crimes being committed here. So why are the police involved? But so Priti Patel's written to the College of Policing saying, get rid of all of this. And the process apparently is that they have to do a review in which everyone discusses it and whatnot, because this is how government works and it's tedious.
Yeah.
But good on Priti Patel for saying, get rid of all this. Go through with it. Push hard. So bit of a white pill at least, which is hopefully that gets gone.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.